Most people spend their entire lives believing that if they can just earn a higher salary, their financial problems will disappear. It sounds logical. Work harder, earn more money, and life becomes easier. But there is a truth many people realize too late. A salary is not designed to make you financially free. It is designed to keep you working. You might earn a decent income, even what society calls a good salary, yet the end of every month somehow looks the same. Bills arrive, expenses grow, and suddenly that paycheck disappears faster than expected. Many people blame themselves for this situation, thinking they are simply bad with money. But often the real reason is much deeper. The modern economic system rewards ownership far more than it rewards effort. If you look at the richest individuals in the world, you will notice something interesting. They are not there because they worked the most hours or had the toughest schedules. Investors own shares. Landlords own properties. These assets generate income, whether they are actively working or not. For example, Jeff Bezos did not become wealthy simply because Amazon paid him a salary. His wealth came from owning a large portion of Amazon itself. This highlights the most important financial distinction: income versus wealth. Income is money you receive in exchange for your time. Wealth is something that continues to grow even when you are not working. If your entire life depends on the next paycheck to cover the next bill, then your freedom is limited by your job. Real financial progress begins when you shift the question you ask yourself. Instead of asking how to make more money, you start asking what you actually own. Do you own valuable skills that increase your earning potential? Do you own assets that grow in value? Do you own systems that generate income automatically? Because until you own something that produces value, something else will control your finances. Your rent, your loans, or your monthly obligations will continue to demand your attention. Breaking that cycle doesn't begin with earning more money. It begins with understanding how to control the money you already earn. And that is where most people struggle. The real problem is not income. The real problem is structure. Without a clear structure, even high incomes disappear quickly. But there is a surprisingly simple framework that can change this situation completely. In the next part, we will explore a powerful money management system called the 20-10-60-10 rule. And once you understand it, you may start seeing money very differently. One of the biggest misconceptions about financial success is that it comes from discipline alone. Many people assume wealthy individuals simply have stronger willpower when it comes to saving and investing money. However, discipline is unreliable because it depends on constant decision-making. Every day you are forced to make choices about money. Should you save or spend? Should you invest or wait? Should you upgrade your lifestyle or remain conservative? These decisions may seem small at first, but over time they become mentally exhausting. Eventually, people give in to convenience or emotion, which is why many individuals save for a few months and then suddenly overspend. Wealthy individuals solve this problem in a different way. Instead of relying on discipline, they build systems that manage their money automatically. Systems remove the need for repeated decisions. Once the structure is in place, the process continues without requiring constant attention. One simple example of this kind of structure is the 20-10-60-10 rule. This method divides your income into 4 clear categories that control how money flows through your life. The first 20% is allocated toward growth. This portion is used for investments, education, skill development, and assets that increase your financial potential. The next 10% is reserved for stability. This creates an emergency buffer that protects you when unexpected situations occur. The next 60% is used for essential living costs, such as housing, food, utilities, transportation, and insurance. These are the true necessities of life. The final 10% is dedicated to enjoyment. This money is intentionally reserved for hobbies, experiences, entertainment, and activities that make life enjoyable. What makes this system powerful is the order in which money is used. Most people spend first, save whatever remains, and invest only if there is extra money left. Unfortunately, there is usually nothing left to invest. The 20-10-60-10 system reverses this process. First, you invest in your future. Then you protect yourself from financial shocks. Then you cover essential living costs. And finally, you spend intentionally on enjoyment. This method works regardless of income level because the percentages scale naturally. Whether someone earns $2,000 a month or $10,000 a month, the structure remains exactly the same. Wealth is rarely created through one big financial decision. Instead, it is built through small, consistent decisions repeated over many years. But knowing how to divide your income is only the first step. The more important question is where that 20% growth allocation should actually be invested. And that's where the real strategy begins. In the next part, we'll explore the different types of investments people use to grow their money intelligently without exposing themselves to unnecessary risk. Where should that money actually go? Many beginners believe successful investing is about predicting which stock will rise the fastest, or trying to time the market perfectly. In reality, experienced investors focus on building a strong financial foundation instead of chasing quick wins. A helpful way to think about investing is through something like a risk ladder. At the lower levels of the ladder are investments designed to protect your money. These include high-yield savings accounts and government bonds. These options may not generate dramatic returns, but they preserve capital while offering steady and reliable growth. As you move higher on the ladder, the next step often includes diversified market investments, such as index funds or exchange-traded funds. These allow you to invest in hundreds of companies simultaneously, rather than relying on the success of one individual business. Historically, broad market indexes such as the S&P 500 have produced average long-term returns close to 10% annually. Investors using this strategy are not trying to outperform the entire market. Instead, they simply allow their money to grow alongside the global economy. Surprisingly, one of the highest return investments available is not a financial asset at all. It is the investment you make in your own skills. Learning valuable abilities such as coding, digital marketing, copywriting, sales, or video production can dramatically increase your earning potential. Spending a few $1,000s on education that raises your income by tens of thousands each year is an extraordinary return on investment. Another option for growth is exposure to real estate. Many investors gain access to property markets through real estate investment trusts, which allow them to benefit from rental income and property appreciation without directly managing buildings or tenants. Individual stocks also become part of the strategy once investors understand the businesses they are buying. The key here is long-term thinking rather than short-term speculation. Successful investors often focus on companies that provide essential products or services that will likely remain relevant decades from now. Higher risk opportunities exist as well, including online businesses, digital products, and emerging technologies such as cryptocurrency. These opportunities can produce significant gains, but they should only be explored once a solid financial base has been established. Regardless of which investments you choose, the most important factor is not predicting the perfect opportunity. The most important factor is consistent execution. Even the best strategy fails if it is never implemented. That is why the next part focuses on something even more powerful than knowledge: automation. Because once investing becomes automatic, wealth building no longer depends on motivation. Understanding how money works is important, but execution is what actually changes financial outcomes. One of the main reasons people struggle to invest consistently is friction. Investing often feels complicated or time-consuming. Accounts must be opened, funds must be transferred, and decisions must be made. Because of this complexity, many people delay the process repeatedly. Days turn into months, and months eventually turn into years. During that time, the opportunity for growth quietly disappears. The most effective solution to this problem is automation. Automation removes the need to constantly remember or decide when to invest. Instead, the process happens automatically the moment income arrives. When your salary or business income enters your bank account, a predetermined percentage is instantly transferred to investment accounts. This happens before you even have the chance to spend the money elsewhere. By removing the decision entirely, automation eliminates one of the biggest obstacles to financial progress: human behavior. However, investing alone is not enough. Financial stability requires protection as well. Unexpected events occur in everyone's life. A car repair, medical expense, or sudden job disruption can quickly create financial pressure. Without preparation, these situations force people to rely on credit cards or loans, which often leads to long-term debt. That is why the stability portion of the system exists. The 10% allocated towards stability gradually builds an emergency fund designed to protect you during difficult moments. A common guideline is saving enough money to cover 5 or 6 months of essential living expenses. If someone spends approximately $2,500 per month on basic costs, such as housing, food, and utilities, their emergency fund should eventually reach between $12,500 and $15,000. This money should remain easily accessible and free from significant risk. High-yield savings accounts, or money market funds, are typically ideal because they provide liquidity while still earning modest interest. The emergency fund is not meant to produce large profits. Its purpose is protection. When emergencies occur, this financial cushion prevents you from selling investments or falling into debt. And if the fund is ever used, rebuilding it becomes the top priority. Stability ensures that progress continues even when life becomes unpredictable. But there is another hidden challenge that destroys financial progress for many people, and it often appears right after their income begins to increase. As people begin earning more money, something interesting often happens. Instead of increasing their investments, they increase their lifestyle. A slightly larger apartment feels justified. A new car suddenly seems affordable. Small luxuries gradually become regular habits. At first, these changes feel like signs of success, but over time they create a powerful financial trap known as lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation occurs when expenses grow at the same pace as income. As a result, even though someone earns significantly more money than before, their financial situation feels almost the same. Someone earning $3,000 per month might feel stressed about money, but someone earning $8,000 per month can experience the same stress if their spending expands accordingly. The difference between looking wealthy and actually being wealthy lies in how money is used. Many people spend money to create an appearance of success, while financially secure individuals focus on building long-term freedom. Expensive purchases funded through debt may appear impressive, but they often delay financial independence for years. Consider something as simple as a monthly car payment. A $400 payment might seem manageable, but over 10 years, that single expense equals nearly $50,000. If the same amount had been invested consistently with moderate returns, it could grow into a much larger sum over time. Small financial decisions repeated for years eventually produce enormous differences. This is why controlling fixed expenses is so important. Housing and transportation are typically the two largest costs in most households, and keeping these costs reasonable creates more room for saving and investing. However, financial systems also need balance. Extreme restriction often leads to burnout and frustration. When people attempt to eliminate all enjoyment from their spending, they eventually rebel against their own rules and overspend impulsively. The 10% enjoyment category solves this problem by creating intentional space for pleasure. This portion of income can be used freely for travel, hobbies, entertainment, or memorable experiences without guilt. When enjoyment is planned instead of impulsive, spending becomes more meaningful and controlled. Over time, the entire system begins to work together. Investments grow quietly in the background. Stability protects against emergencies, expenses remain manageable, and enjoyment keeps life balanced. Wealth does not appear overnight, but it slowly accumulates through consistency. Eventually, the system reaches a point where money no longer controls your decisions. Instead, your financial structure supports the life you want to live. And when that moment arrives, you realize something powerful. Wealth was never about earning more money. It was about learning how to manage it.